The legendary feats of samurai in feudal Japan. Picture this. You're facing an opponent wielding two swords simultaneously, their blades dancing through the air like silver lightning. In today's world, we might dismiss such tales as pure fantasy, something straight out of an action movie. But in feudal Japan, this wasn't fiction. It was history. In the realm of Japanese samurai, truth often surpasses fiction. While Hollywood has given us countless interpretations of these legendary warriors, the real historical accounts of their feats are even more extraordinary. Today, we're diving into 4 incredible samurai achievements that sound like myths but are actually documented in historical records. Our first story takes us to the year 1612, to a small island off the coast of Japan. Here, a lone figure stands waiting, wooden sword in each hand. This is Miyamoto Musashi, and he's about to revolutionize the art of Japanese swordsmanship forever. Before Musashi, the idea of wielding two swords was considered not just unorthodox, it was seen as foolish. Samurai were trained from childhood to perfect the art of single-sword combat. The katana was more than a weapon. It was an extension of the warrior's soul. Using two swords? That would be like trying to write with both hands simultaneously. But Musashi wasn't interested in convention. Through years of intense study and countless duels, he developed something unprecedented. Niten Ichi Ryu, the school of the two heavens as one. This wasn't just about holding two swords. It was about transforming them into a perfect storm of offense and defense. On that fateful morning in 1612, Musashi faced his most famous opponent, Sasaki Kojiro, a master swordsman known for his swallow cut technique, a strike so swift it could supposedly catch a bird in mid-flight. The duel was set for sunrise on a small island. But Musashi, ever the strategist, arrived deliberately late, knowing the sun would be in his opponent's eyes. Using two wooden swords crafted from a boat oar, Musashi demonstrated the true power of his dual-wielding technique. In a clash that lasted mere seconds, he deflected Kojiro's famous swallow cut with one sword while simultaneously striking with the other. One blow was all it took. The duel was over, and the legend of the two-sword style was born. But Musashi's dual-wielding wasn't just about combat effectiveness. His innovation challenged the very foundations of samurai philosophy. In his later years, he wrote the famous Book of Five Rings, where he explained that his two-sword style was about more than just fighting. It was about understanding the duality of existence itself. This philosophical depth transformed what could have been seen as a mere combat technique into a profound art form that continues to influence martial artists today. Think of it like this. If traditional samurai swordsmanship was like classical music, refined, structured, and bound by strict rules, Musashi's style was like jazz, breaking conventions while creating something entirely new and equally masterful. What makes this story even more remarkable is the historical context. This was during the early Edo period, a time when samurai were transitioning from battlefield warriors to peacetime administrators. Many were abandoning the way of the sword for bureaucratic duties. Yet here was Musashi, not just preserving the warrior arts but revolutionizing them. The evidence for Musashi's dual-wielding prowess isn't just found in dramatic tales of duels. Historical records show that he served in major campaigns, including the Shimabara Rebellion, where his unique fighting style proved effective in actual combat situations. Multiple independent sources from the period confirm his use of two swords, including accounts from his students and even his opponents. Archaeological evidence supports these accounts. Surviving training equipment from Musashi's school shows modifications specifically designed for practicing dual-wielding techniques. These artifacts, preserved in various Japanese museums, provide tangible proof of how his revolutionary style was taught and practiced. Modern martial arts experts who've studied Musashi's techniques have found them to be surprisingly practical. The two-sword style creates what we'd now call a zone defense, making it nearly impossible for an opponent to find an opening. It's similar to how a modern boxer uses both hands independently, but in perfect coordination. But perhaps the most compelling evidence of Musashi's dual-wielding mastery is its lasting influence. His school of swordsmanship, Niten Ichi Ryu, continues to this day, with practitioners still teaching the same techniques he developed 4 centuries ago. Unlike many historical martial arts that exist only in books, Musashi's two-sword style remains a living, breathing practice. While Musashi revolutionized swordsmanship with his two-blade style, another samurai was achieving something equally incredible, going undefeated in over 50 battles during Japan's most violent era. Imagine a military commander with a combat record more impressive than any modern general. That was Honda Tadakatsu, a warrior so formidable that even his enemies called him the warrior who surpassed death itself. To understand just how extraordinary this feat was, consider this. During the Sengoku period, Japan's century of civil war, the average samurai commander could expect to die in battle by their 3rd or 4th major engagement. The odds of surviving 50 battles weren't just slim, they were astronomical. Yet Honda Tadakatsu didn't just survive. He emerged from every battle without suffering a single significant wound. Think of it like this. In modern terms, it would be like a Special Forces operator completing hundreds of high-risk missions over decades without ever being hit. It's the kind of record that seems impossible, except we have the historical documentation to prove it happened. But what made Tadakatsu different? Unlike many samurai who earned their fame through duels or single combat, Tadakatsu was a master of large-scale warfare. He commanded thousands of troops in major battles, yet still managed to lead from the front. His personal battle standard, adorned with the figure of a golden deer, became so famous that enemies would retreat at the mere sight of it. One of his most legendary moments came during the Battle of Komaki in 1584. Tadakatsu single-handedly defended a crucial bridge against an entire enemy army. Picture the scene. One man, standing alone on a narrow bridge, facing down hundreds of warriors. According to historical records, the enemy commanders were so impressed by his bravery that they ordered their troops not to attack him with guns. They considered it dishonorable to shoot such a magnificent warrior. His weapon of choice was equally legendary, a spear named Tonbogiri, or dragonfly cutter. The name came from a famous incident where a dragonfly landed on its blade and was cut in half simply by touching it. This wasn't just any spear. It was considered one of the 3 great spears of Japan, and today it's preserved as a national treasure. But Tadakatsu wasn't just a warrior. He was a military innovator. He developed new tactics for cavalry warfare and was one of the first samurai commanders to effectively integrate firearms into traditional Japanese military strategies. Think of him as the Japanese equivalent of both George Washington and Stonewall Jackson combined, a brilliant tactician who could also fight on the front lines. What's particularly fascinating about Tadakatsu's achievements is that we can verify them through multiple historical sources, not just Japanese records, but also accounts from Portuguese missionaries and Dutch traders who witnessed his campaigns. These independent verification sources add crucial credibility to what might otherwise seem like mere legend. His reputation was so fearsome that Toyotomi Hideyoshi, one of Japan's greatest unifiers, once said, "Honda Tadakatsu is worth 1,000 warriors." Even his arch-rival, Takeda Shingen, famously declared that Honda is the only one I fear. Coming from Shingen, known as the Tiger of Kai, and one of Japan's most brilliant military minds, this was extraordinary praise indeed. One particularly notable aspect of Tadakatsu's career was his ability to adapt to changing warfare technology. During his lifetime, Japan went through a military revolution with the introduction of firearms. Many traditional samurai struggled with this change, seeing guns as dishonorable. But Tadakatsu embraced new technology while maintaining traditional samurai virtues, a rare combination that contributed to his undefeated record. The armor he wore into battle became legendary in its own right. Known as the Gold Dragon, it was instantly recognizable on the battlefield with its distinctive deer horns on the helmet. Modern historians have studied surviving pieces of his armor and found it to be remarkably advanced for its time, combining maximum protection with mobility, a crucial factor in his survival through so many battles. But perhaps most impressive was Tadakatsu's loyalty. In an era when many samurai changed allegiances multiple times for political advantage, he remained steadfastly loyal to one lord, Tokugawa Ieyasu, who would eventually become the shogun of all Japan. This loyalty, combined with his undefeated record, made him the ideal embodiment of Bushido, the samurai code of honor. In the end, Honda Tadakatsu achieved something nearly impossible. He died peacefully in his bed at age 73, having never lost a battle or suffered a major wound. In an age where violent death was the expected end for any samurai, especially one who fought as many battles as he did, this was perhaps his most remarkable achievement of all. Earlier, we mentioned Sasaki Kojiro in our tale about Musashi, but his own story deserves special attention. His signature technique, the Tsubame Gaishi or turning swallow cut, represents one of the most extraordinary developments in sword fighting history. Imagine a sword technique so fast that it could strike a bird in mid-flight. This was no mere legend, but a documented fighting method that pushed the limits of human capability. The Tsubame Gaishi wasn't just about speed, it was about precision and timing. Kojiro developed this technique by studying swallows in flight, particularly the way they would quickly reverse direction. The technique involved an initial downward cut, followed by an immediate rising slash, executed so quickly that it appeared to be a single motion. Historical records describe Kojiro demonstrating this technique by cutting through falling leaves before they could touch the ground. While this might sound like fantasy, modern sword experts have confirmed that such feats are possible with sufficient training. But perhaps the most incredible samurai feat of all belongs to Sanada Yukimura, a tactical genius who achieved what many considered impossible during the siege of Osaka in 1614-1615. Against the massive Tokugawa army of 150,000 soldiers, Sanada led a force of just 7,000 men in a defense that would become legendary. Sanada's genius lay in his understanding of psychology and terrain. He constructed a complex network of fortifications known as the Sanada Maru, which became one of the most formidable defensive positions in Japanese military history. What made Sanada's achievement truly remarkable was his innovative use of counterattacking tactics. Instead of merely defending, he launched precise, calculated strikes against the Tokugawa forces. During one famous encounter, his small force managed to break through enemy lines and nearly reached Tokugawa Ieyasu himself, a moment that could have changed Japanese history if successful. Contemporary accounts from both sides of the conflict praise Sanada's tactical brilliance. One Tokugawa commander wrote, "Fighting against Sanada is like fighting against a ghost. He appears where you least expect him and strikes where you are weakest." Even Tokugawa Ieyasu himself, who had fought in countless battles, named Sanada as the most dangerous opponent he had ever faced. The most extraordinary aspect of Sanada's defense was how he maximized the effectiveness of his limited resources. Each soldier under his command functioned with the efficiency of 10 normal warriors, not through any superhuman ability, but through superior training, positioning, and tactical deployment. In his final battle, Sanada lived up to his reputation with a last charge that became the stuff of legend, breaking through multiple enemy lines before finally being surrounded. These four samurai, Musashi with his 2 swords, Tadakatsu with his undefeated record, Kojiro with his swallow cut, and Sanada with his tactical genius, represent different aspects of what made the samurai such extraordinary warriors. Their feats weren't just about physical prowess or fighting skill. They were about pushing the boundaries of what humans could achieve through dedication, innovation, and unwavering spirit. In modern times, when we talk about pushing human limits, we often focus on sports records or scientific achievements. But these samurai remind us that throughout history, individuals have found ways to transcend what others considered possible. Their stories continue to inspire not just martial artists, but anyone who seeks to excel in their chosen field. Thank you for watching this exploration of these incredible samurai feats. If you enjoyed learning about these remarkable warriors, please support our channel by subscribing and hitting the like button. Your engagement helps us continue bringing you more fascinating stories from Japanese history. Don't forget to ring the notification bell to stay updated on our latest uploads.